Good morning, students. In yesterday's class, we discussed the concept of temperature variation of resistivity and resistance, and we defined the temperature coefficient of resistance and resistivity as well, and also we discussed some problems related to that concept. And in the beginning of the class, I discussed some problems on series and parallel combinations of resistors. In today's class, let us discuss the concept of heating effect of electric current. Heating effect of electric current. When a current is allowed to pass through a conductor for some time, after some time you can observe that the conductor becomes hot. So, in this case what happens is the electrical energy converts into heat energy, and this phenomenon of conversion of electrical energy into heat energy is known as the heating effect of electric current, and it is also known as Joule's heating effect. That means when this is the conductor carrying a current I for certain time t. Now, if V is a potential difference across the ends of the conductor, then the work done by the applied potential difference, we know work done by electric field on a charge q is W is equals to potential difference V into charge q. Now, this current, because current is I in the circuit, we know that current is equals to charge divided by time taken, it is total charge by total time taken. Now, q can be written as q is equals to I into t. So, now replacing q with I t, you will get W, that is work done by the potential difference in sending the charge carriers from one end to other end, that work done is equals to V into q value I into t. So, we know V is equals to I R by using Ohm's law for conductor. V is equals to I R, where I is current and R is electrical resistance of the material. Substituting here, you will get I into R into I into t. So, which will give us I square R into t. So, this work done by the electric field on the free charge carriers will convert into heat energy. So, let Q is a quantity of heat produced during the process, Q is equals to I square R t. So, this is the quantity of heat that is generated when a current I is passing through a conductor of resistance R for a time t seconds. That is what the equation. So, from this we can say three different relations, that is the quantity of heat produced Q directly proportional to square of current in the conductor, and you can say next one Q directly proportional to resistance of the material, and Q directly proportional to time during which the current is allowed to pass through the conductor. So, these three equations are known as Joule's laws of heating effect of electric current. Heating effect of electric current. Joule's laws of heating effect of electric current. So, in our real life, we will use some electrical appliances which works based on this Joule's laws of heating effect of electric current. So, those are iron box, electric iron box, and heater and electric bulb with the filament, electric bulb. Okay, then another one is electric stove. So, all these devices, all these electrical appliances, they works based on this particular Joule's laws of heating effect of electric current, where electrical energy converts into heat energy. So, in all the cases, that is what the heating effect of electric current. So, here electrical energy converts into heat energy. So, this is the concept. Now, let us see how it happens exactly when current flowing through the conductor. So, based on conservation of energy, let us discuss how this electrical energy will convert into heat energy. Now, let us consider a conductor, let this is the conductor, say its resistance is R, electrical resistance of this conductor is R. Let this end of the conductor is at a potential VA and this end is at potential VB. Let the current is flowing from end A to B, means this is the current direction in the conductor. Now we know that current always flows from high potential to low potential. So here this is high potential, this is low potential. So directly you can say VA greater than VB. Keep this in mind, VA greater than VB. Now the potential, suppose if Q amount of charge is moving from one end to other end, so then the change in potential energy of the charge which is flowing from one end to other end, say delta U is equals to, we know potential energy at this end for the charge is VA into Q, and at this end the potential energy is VB into Q, where VA is potential at this end and Q is a charge, and here VB into Q is a potential energy. Now taking change in potential energy, that is the final potential energy minus initial potential energy, you will get VB into Q minus VA into Q, that will be VB minus VA into Q. This is delta U value. So if you observe this equation, this VB minus VA will be a negative value, that means this delta U is less than 0, that is negative value. So here this energy, here when particle reaches here, the potential energy is decreasing, that means the energy is converting into some other form. Suppose if we assume there is no atoms inside the material, the electrons may be gaining some kinetic energy. If there is no atoms, if they are free to move inside the conductor, they may gain kinetic energy due to this difference in potential at both ends. But that is not happening. So because there are atoms inside the material which are very closely packed, so when electron gains certain kinetic energy, that electron will immediately collide with the atoms. During that collision, it will transfer the energy to the atoms, where the atom starts vibrating vigorously about their mean positions. So that is why during that collision, the kinetic energy gained by electron transferring to atoms, so that they are vibrating. So this process will take place continuously when charges are moving from one end to other end. That is how the energy to the atoms will be transferred, so that the conductor will start heating slowly. So that is the process of conversion of the electrical energy into heat energy. So here if delta W is the work done in moving the charge from one end to other end, that work done is equals to that is delta V. Let us say potential difference is some V volts. So this value I am taking V into say Q, V into Q. Now if a current is allowed for a time of delta T seconds, then Q is equals to I into delta T, because I is equals to charge by time taken. So here Q can be replaced with I into delta T. Now substituting that Q value here, V into, that is I value, sorry, Q value I into delta T. So this is delta W. So we know that power is nothing but work done per unit time. So dividing both sides with the time, that is delta W by delta T, that is equals to V into I. So this is power, that is last per second. So a work done per unit time or energy per unit time, we can call it as power. So power in the electrical circuit is V into I, where V is the potential difference across the ends of the conductor and I is electric current. So this product V into I will give us the energy lost per unit time in the conductor, which is known as ohmic loss. Remember, this loss of energy is known as ohmic loss, because it is the energy loss due to the resistance of the material. So where the resistance units are ohm, SI units of resistance is ohm, so we can call it as ohmic loss of the conductor. That means energy loss due to the electrical resistance of the material. So this is what happens exactly. So here the collisions between atoms and electrons will there will be transfer of energy from electron to atom, so that atoms will be vibrating very vigorously, means very with high frequency about their mean positions like this, so that electron motion will not be allowed further to pass through the conductor, so that their motion will be opposed by the atoms. That is what we are calling resistance of the material, and during the process the atom will gain more and more energy, so that conductor will get some excess. That means that the temperature of the conductor continuously increases. That is how you can observe the temperature change in the conductor after allowing some after allowing current for some time. That is what the concept of heating effect of electric current. Now, so power in the electrical circuit, we obtained it as delta W by delta T. So, you can write it as power in the electrical circuit, that is equal to V into I. So, current into potential into current, that is delta W by delta T, that is energy lost per unit time or work done by the potential difference per unit time is equal to power, that is equals to V into I, where V is potential difference and I is electrical current. Now, let us take other forms of this equation. So, using that Ohm's law for conductors, V is equal to IR. Now, substituting V is equal to IR, you will get the other form of equation, that is V is equals to I square R. V is equals to IR, I into I square into R. This is another form. Similarly, if you substitute I is equals to V by R in the expression, substitute I with V by R, you will get P is equals to V square by R. This is another formula for calculating electric power in the electrical circuit. So, three different forms of that equation. Now, let us see let us see how to calculate the number of units consumed by household appliances. So, using this concept, so now let us define the kilowatt hour. So, we know the SI unit of power is watt. So, keep this in mind, because P is equals to V into I. So, energy per unit time, that is joule per second, nothing but watt. So, 1 joule per second is watt. Just keep this in mind. Now, let us see what is mean by 1 kilowatt hour. 1 kilowatt hour. Then I will explain how to calculate electricity bill or number of units consumed by all the household appliances in a house. Now, let us define this kilowatt hour. So, generally if you purchase electrical appliances like bulb, TV or anything, so there they will mention some wattage value like 100 watt or 60 watt bulb like this. So, this wattage, so by knowing the wattage of each device in our house, we can able to calculate the number of units consumed by house in 1 month. So, then you can calculate the electricity bill. So, that kind of problems are important. Now, let us define first what is a kilowatt hour. So, kilowatt hour means, first let us say there is a bulb is there. So, whose wattage is 1000 watts for example. So, this bulb, if it is used for a time of 1 hour, okay, it is used for a time of 1 hour, then energy consumed by that bulb is equal to 1 kilowatt hour. So, you can define like this. So, it is 1 kilowatt hour is the energy consumed by an electrical appliance of wattage equal to 1000 watts when it is used for a time of 1 hour. That is what the unit definition of 1 kilowatt hour. Now, we know that power is equals to energy divided by time. So, here we are calculating energy consumed by that appliance. So, that energy is equals to power into time. So, now power of that electrical appliance, it is 1000 watts, that is 10 power 3 I can take. So, how much time it is used for 1 hour time, that energy which the energy consumed by that electrical appliance of 1000 watts in 1 hour time is nothing but 1 kilowatt hour energy. Now, 1000 watts into time value 1 hour nothing but 3600 seconds. So, now simplifying this, you will get 36 into 10 power 5 joules. This is the value of 1 kilowatt hour. So, in usual language, we call this 1 kilowatt hour as 1 unit of electrical energy. So, 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 1 1 kilowatt hour is equals to 36 into 10 to the power of 5 joules of energy. Remember, it is a unit of energy, not the unit of power. So that is what. So this is only, we are calling it as 1 unit. 1 unit nothing but 36 into 10 to the power of 5 joules of energy, which is defined as energy consumed by an electrical appliance of 1000 watts in a time of 1 hour. That is called as 1 kilowatt hour or 1 unit energy. Now let us do one example how to calculate the number of units consumed, and then we can calculate electricity bill for that particular house. So here, for example, in a house there are many electrical appliances. So let us say first electrical appliance wattage is W1, and per day, per month it is using for H1 hours. So where W1 is wattage of first electrical appliance, and it is using for H1 hours, H1 number of hours in a month. And similarly W2, and it is using for hours H2. Similarly there is a n devices. So where the W1 is wattage of that nth electrical appliance, which is used for hours Hn. Now to calculate total energy consumed, that is total number of units consumed by all these electrical appliances. So we can do like this. So energy E is equal to, just multiply wattages with the times, that is W1 H1 plus W2 H2 plus and so on Wn Hn. Okay. So this is what total energy consumed in because we are taking power in watts and time in hours, we will get in watt hours, but we want the energy in kilowatt hours because that is the unit of unit to calculate the electrical bill. So here we have to convert this equation into kilowatt hours. For that divide the each term with 1000. That means total equation you can divide with 1000 and multiply with 1000. So because this unit is, this final unit is in watt hour, so that I will get in kilowatt hour. So I am just multiplying and dividing with 1000, which is nothing but kilo. So I will get the unit as kilowatt hours. So therefore I can write it as summation WH divided by 1000 kilowatt hours. So like this I can find out the total energy consumed in terms of units. Just by knowing number of units and multiplying the cost of 1 unit, you can get the electricity bill required. So that is what the concept. So here W1 wattage of first device, and H1 number of hours, that is number of hours during which it is using, and W2 wattage of second one, and it is H2 number of hours, and so on. Just multiplying W1 H1 plus W2 H2 and so on Wn H2, means here n is number of electrical appliances in the house. Now adding all and finally dividing and multiplying with 1000, you will convert that into kilowatt hours. So that you will get a total number of kilowatt hours, that is number of units. So total energy will get, from that you can find total number of kilowatt hours. So from which you can calculate electricity bill. So this is the method of finding that number of kilowatt hours and then electricity bill. Now let us discuss one example problem. For this, a simple example. Suppose in a house there are two bulbs with a wattage of 100 watts, so which are used which are using 5 hours in a day, and there is a fan of 150 watts which is using for 5 hours in a day, for example. Now what is the electricity, what is the number of units in a day, and what is the number of units in a month? Now let us calculate it. So here total energy in a day. So first let me calculate it for 1 day. So this is, the bulbs are using 5 hours in 1 day and fan is using 5 hours in 1 day. Now let us calculate total number of units consumed by this particular electrical appliances in 1 day. That is W1 wattage of the bulb is, so 100. So you can say 2 bulbs are there, so 2 into wattage of 1 bulb is 100 into number of hours which the bulbs are using is 5. So 2 into 100 into 5 plus one fan is there. So its wattage is 150 into number of hours 5. Now dividing with 1000, multiplying with 1000, you will get the kilowatt hours. So now let us simplify this. So 2 into 5 into 2, 10, 10 into 100 is the 1000. So 1000 plus 150 into 5, 15 5 is 75. So 750 divided by 1000 kilowatt hours. So you can say units. Now simplifying this, you will get 1000 by 1001, 750 by 1000, you will get 0.75. So total it will be, so 750 by 1000 you will get 0.75. So total 1.75 units in a day. So 1.75 kilowatt hours used in a day. So therefore if there are 30 days in that particular month, then total number of units, consumed in the month, in a month of 30 days is equal to, so the number of units in a day is 1.75 into 30. So this is how we can calculate the number of units, and then if they give cost of 1 unit, you can multiply the total number of units with the cost of 1 unit, and you can get the required value of the electricity bill. So this is how we can do, just multiply wattages with the number of hours during which they are using, and then multiply and divide with 1000, then you can find a number of units in a day and then in a month. So that is the concept of kilowatt hour, that is how you can calculate electricity bill. Now let us move on to the next concept in the chapter, that is series and a parallel combination of bulbs. So next we are going to discuss cell. So next, series and parallel combinations of bulbs. So very important in a NEET exam point of view, series and parallel combination of bulbs. So related to bulbs, every time there will be a question in NEET exam. Now let us discuss. So first, if you purchase an electrical appliance, as I said, there will be some rated values like power, that is wattage of the bulb, and the voltage, operating voltage. So here generally they will mention P, let us say this is rated power, simply you can call it as wattage of the bulb or wattage of electrical appliance, and they will mention V, that is operating voltage or rated voltage. Okay, so if the given bulb, rated voltage means if a bulb is operates, suppose if rated voltage is 220 volts for an electrical appliance, if you operate it at more than 220, so it will get damaged. So that is what the meaning of rated voltage, and similarly rated power. So now these values, by using these values you can calculate two things for an electrical appliance, that are, first thing you can calculate resistance of electrical appliance by using the given values is, suppose we know power is equals to V square by R. In terms of resistance, power is equals to V square by R, because we want resistance. So resistance R is equals to V square divided by P. This is one, means by using rated values you can calculate resistance of the given electrical appliance. So where if V is constant for that particular electrical appliance, means if you operate it at constant voltage, then R inversely proportional to P. Keep this in mind. Later we are going to use this in solving problems. Similarly, so we can calculate the allowable current, maximum possible current through that electrical appliance using the rated values. That is, we know power is equals to V into I, where V is rated voltage and P is rated power. Now we can calculate the maximum allowable current through that electrical appliance by P is equal, I is equals to P divided by V. So we know when V is constant, so if it is operating at a constant voltage, then you can say I is directly proportional to P. That means the current through that electrical appliance directly proportional to its rated power. So these two things just keep in mind. So later we are going to use these two in solving problems. Now let us see what is the what is series and parallel combination of bulbs and how to calculate equivalent power of the combinations. So let us consider two bulbs which are connected in series. So we know series connection means end to end connection such that a current in each component in the circuit remains same. So these are the two bulbs which are connected to a potential, say V volts. Now let us take the rated value. So let P1 comma P2 are the rated powers wattage value, simply saying they are wattage values. So from this rated powers you can calculate the resistance. So that is resistance of the first bulb is V square by P1. Similarly resistance of the second bulb is V square by P2. Okay, just now, so because they are operating with a voltage V, so that they will consume powers, let P1 dash, so P1 dash comma P2 dash, that is a power consumptions by the two bulbs, means these are the rated values and P1 dash and P2 dash are the values of powers that they are consuming when they are connected in the circuit. Now if you compare this P1 dash and P2 dash, because current is same in the circuit as it is a series combination, now power consumed by the first bulb P1 dash is equals to, that is equal to I square R1, because current is same in both the bulbs. So I can use the power in terms of current. So P1 dash is equals to current through the bulb into its resistance. Similarly power consumption by the second bulb P2 dash is equals to I square R2. Now take the ratio and let us compare the power consumption by both the bulbs. So that is P1 dash divided by P2 dash is equal to, so if you take the ratio, I square will cancel, you will get R1 by R2. So now if you substitute R1 R2 values, which is V square by P1 is R1 value, so V square by P1 divided by V square by P2, you will get P2 by P1. So here we can give an important conclusion using this particular relation. So let me take one example for this particular thing. So here I am taking first bulb wattage 100 watts and second bulb wattage 500 watts. Now these are the rated values. Now P1 dash and P2 dash are the power consumption, means actually how much energy they are consuming per second is indicated by P1 dash for the first bulb and P2 dash for the second bulb. Now let us substitute the values of the actual powers. So first bulb rating I am taking 100 watts, second bulb rating I am taking 500 watts. So I will get power consumption by the first bulb divided by power consumption by the second bulb is equal to, see, just ignore this resistance ratio for now. Now take this P2 by P1. So what is P2? Rate of, that is wattage of the second bulb 500 divided by first bulb 100. Now you will get 5. That means P1 dash, that is the energy consumption by the first bulb is equals to 5 times P2 dash. That means here you can clearly observe that the power consumption by the first bulb of wattage 100 is equal to 5 times the consumption of power by the second bulb. That means in series combination the bulb with low wattage will be glowing brighter than the bulb with higher wattage. So this is a important conclusion. So finally we arrived at this conclusion, which is nothing but, so in series combination of bulbs, low wattage bulb will be brighter, low wattage bulb will be brighter than high wattage bulb. High wattage bulb. So that is the conclusion that you can give about the series combination of bulbs. So here 100 watts, 500 watts. So here 100 watts bulb will be consuming more energy than the other one, that is 500 watts bulb. So that is what this equation indicates. So P1 dash power, that is energy consumed by the first bulb, is 5 times the energy consumed by the second one. So that is what the conclusion indicates. A low wattage bulb will be brighter because it is consuming more energy per second. So in series combination. So that is the conclusion you can give. Now let us find out the relation between total power and the individual powers of each bulb in the combination. Now if total power consumed in the circuit is P, that is given by V square by total resistance, let us say R equivalent, because they are in series, you have to take R equivalent as total resistance. We know in series combination R equivalent, that is equivalent resistance of series combination of two resistors. So now resistance of this bulb is R1, for this bulb is R2, the total resistance is R1 plus R2, now total power is V square by R1 plus R2. But we know the values of R1 and R2 in terms of their wattages, that is R1 is equals to V square by P1 and R2 is equals to V square by P2. Now substituting the values of R1 and R2, you can get the required relation, that is P is equal to V square divided by, so R1 value is V square by P1 plus R2 value is V square by P2. Now I can take this V square common, so V square divided by V square of 1 by P1 plus 1 by P2. So V square get cancelled, you will get P is equal to this 1 by P1 plus 1 by P2. Now rearranging the terms, so here if you cross interchange the terms, you will get a 1 by total power is equals to 1 by power of the first bulb, 1 by power of the second bulb. So this is the equation for series combination of two bulbs to find the total power in terms of their individual power values in series combination. If there are 3 bulbs, you can extend to 3 terms. If there are n bulbs, you can take up to n terms. Remember one more thing, in series combination, if one bulb is get fused, then remaining bulbs will not work. Why? Because if this bulb is fused, means if this here the circuit is breaking, so there is no further path for the flow of current, so that remaining bulbs will not glow. That is what one point you have to remember about the series combination. And one more thing you remember, so generally questions will be about which bulb will get fused in the circuit in the series combination or in parallel combination. So keep one thing in mind, so they will give some rated voltages and that is maximum possible currents. If the voltage drop across any bulb is greater than the rated value of that particular bulb, then that bulb will get fused. And if you allow more than the maximum possible current in a bulb, then that bulb will get fused. So these 2 points you have to remember while solving the problems related to the bulbs and series and parallel combination of bulbs. So that is about a series combination. Next is the parallel combination of bulbs. So parallel combination of bulbs, when two bulbs say of wattages P1 and P2 are connected like this across a potential say V volts. So we know in parallel combination potential drop across each element in the circuit remains same. but the currents will be different. So let the wattage of this one is P1, P2. So P1 and P2 are the rated powers. So P1 comma P2 are rated powers for each bulb. Now the resistance values, as usual you can calculate. R1 is equals to V square by P1 and R2 is equals to V square by P2. So now once again let us see which bulb will glow brighter, whether a low wattage bulb or a high wattage bulb will glow brighter in say, parallel combination, like what we did in case of series combination. So first let P1 dash, so when I connect these bulbs in series in parallel combination like this, say for V volts I am connecting. Now the power consumption by the first bulb P1 dash is equals to, you can take V square by R1, because in parallel combination potential is common for both the bulbs. So we have to use this relation for power consumption. So in series combination we used a different relation, that is I square R1, because current is common in series combination. So here P1 dash is equals to V square by R1 and P2 dash, that is power consumption by the second bulb, is V square by R2. Okay, now again take the power consumption ratio for the comparison. Now let us compare the power consumptions. P1 dash by P2 dash is equals to, taking the ratio we will get 1 by R1 divided by 1 by R2, which will be R2 by R1. Now substituting R2 and R1 values from that equations. So we know R2 is V square by P2 and R1 value V square by P1. So you will cancel V square, then you will get a P1 by P2. Now take the some example values. For example, this first bulb is of 100 watts and second bulb is of 500 watts, that is rated voltage, rated wattages or rated powers. Now substituting P1 and P2, that is power consumption by the first bulb divided by power consumption by the second bulb is equal to, so rated power of first bulb 100 and rated power of second bulb 500. So it is 1 by 5. So from this what you can conclude is P1 dash is equals to P2 dash by 5. That means the bulb with low wattage is consuming less power. So here P2 dash by 5. So power consumption by the second bulb divided by 5. That means the low wattage bulb is consuming less power, the high wattage bulb is consuming more power in parallel combination. So here you can say the bulb with high wattage will glow brighter in case of parallel combination. So that is what you can conclude. So let me write that conclusion here. Bulb with high wattage glows brighter in parallel combination of bulbs. Parallel combination of bulbs. So that is the conclusion you can give about the parallel combination of bulbs. Now keeping this in mind, now let us find out the relation between total power consumed to the individual powers in the combination. Now the total power, say P is the total power in the parallel combination of two bulbs. So the total power is given by V square divided by R, where R is equivalent resistance of, so you write it. So equivalent resistance V R equivalent. We know here resistance of first bulb is R1 and for the second bulb it is R2. So you can take it as a parallel combination of two resistors, where the relation for two resistors parallel combination is 1 by R equivalent is equals to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. Now you can replace this V square into 1 by R equivalent. So you can write it as 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. So that means V square by R1 plus V square by R2. So here V square by R1 nothing but power of first bulb P1 and V square by R2 is the power of second bulb P2. So P is equal to P1 plus P2. is the equation for parallel combination of two bulbs. So therefore, if there are n bulbs, you can write the equation as P is equals to P1 plus P2 and so on Pn. This is the equation for power, total power in the parallel combination of bulbs. So now one more thing about this parallel combination is, if one of the bulbs, if there are n bulbs which are connected in parallel, if one of the bulb is fused, then remaining bulbs will continue working. Why? Because here if this bulb is suppose if the circuit is broken here, then the current will be moving to other parts of the circuit, so that the other components in the circuit will be continuously working. So that is what one advantage of the parallel combination. So that is why our household appliances will be connected in parallel combinations. So that we will discuss later about the household connections and fuse, how fuse will work, we will discuss in further classes. That time I will explain clearly. So just keep this in mind, if one bulb is fused in parallel combination, the other bulbs will be continue working. So that is about the parallel combination of bulbs. So our next concept is cell. So far we discussed. So first let me revise what we discussed so far. So today I discussed the concept of power consumption in electric circuit, that is heating effect of electrical current, very important topic. So Joule's laws I explained. So Q is equals to I square RT. So where Q proportional to I square, Q proportional to R, Q proportional to T. So these three laws I explained. So which are known as Joule's laws of heating effect of electric current. So using this there are many electrical appliances in our real life. So next thing is I explained how this energy loss when electrical current is flowing to the conductor happens. So their collision will take place between electrons and atoms, so that atoms will gain that energy, so that the atoms will start vibrating vigorously, so that there will be some opposition to the flow of electrons, which will cause the conductor become hot. So that is how electrical energy will convert into heat energy, and that loss of energy we called it as ohmic loss. And then I explained kilowatt hour, and I explained the method how to calculate number of kilowatt hours in a day and in a month, and how to calculate electricity bill. From that I explained, and then we discussed the combinations, that is a parallel and series combination of bulbs. And more importantly, keep in mind, so here which bulb will be brighter in series combination. So low wattage bulb will be glowing brighter in series combination, and whereas in parallel combination high wattage bulb will be glowing brighter. So that I explained. And remember which bulb will be fused, or which bulb will get fused in a combination. So that kind of question generally will be asking. So remember, if the potential drop across a particular bulb is greater than the rated value of that bulb, then that bulb will get fused. So keep this in mind, and this is a very important in NEET exam point of view. So now let us move on to the next concept, that is a cell and EMF of a cell. Very important topic once again. Now let us start cells. Now let us discuss the concept of cell. A cell is a device which maintains a constant potential difference, PD, potential difference in a electrical circuit by converting chemical energy into electrical energy, by converting chemical energy into electrical energy, or you can say mechanical energy into electrical energy. Mechanical energy into electrical energy, that particular device which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy, we call it as dynamo, which we will discuss in later chapters, that is electromagnetic induction. And now the chemical energy, so we will focus only on this type of cell which converts chemical energy into electrical energy. Now, so let me explain the different types of cells that are available. So there are two types of cells that are nothing but primary cells primary cells and secondary cells. Primary and secondary cells. So, primary cells nothing but the cells which once used up cannot be recharged, means once after using they cannot be recharged further. So, that kind of cells are known as primary cells. The example for primary cells is Leclanche cell, and Daniell cell and dry cell. Dry cell, that is the dry cell nothing but the cells which we use in our torch lights are dry cells. So, these are examples for primary cells, and secondary cells nothing but the cells which can be recharged after using, means after completely using them up. So, you can recharge them for further use. So, that kind of cells are called as secondary cells. So, we can give example as lead accumulator, and alkali accumulator are few examples for the secondary cells. Okay, so that is the type of cells. Now, let us discuss the cell in detail. So, here a cell is a device which provides a constant potential difference in an electrical circuit by converting either chemical energy into electrical energy or mechanical energy into electrical energy, nothing but dynamo principle it is. So, this is not important for now. So, this we will discuss in later chapter. Now, this one we are going to study cell, which converts chemical energy into electrical energy. Now, let me tell you how it maintains what is the use, what actually the cell will do in electrical circuit in maintaining the flow of current. First, suppose if there is a well, this is a source of water. So, if you connect a pipe from well, you cannot get the water directly without any electric motor. So, here water is available, a pipe connection is made, but water flow is not, means the water will not come from bottom to the top of the well. So, you cannot get water flow out of the pipe. So, this is, keep this in mind. Now, if you take a circuit with an electrical bulb, this is the bulb which is connected to wires. If there is no battery, the bulb will not glow. Now, here if you connect electric motor, the water will, we can pump the water. So, water will come out. So, in the same way, if there is no battery, here water is available, in the same way here inside the wires electrons are available, but there is no output. That means the bulb is not glowing. Here water available, connection also made, but there is no output. So, here if you connect electric motor, which will convert electrical energy into mechanical energy, and it will pump the water out, so that you will get some output from these pipes, that means water out. Next, here if you connect a cell, that is the positive and negative terminals of the cell. So, here the potential difference is provided by the cell. So, that cell will do some work in the circuit, so that some constant current will be set up in the circuit, and that energy will be supplied to the bulb, so that the bulb will glow. So, this is what actually the cell will do, means it will maintain the constant potential difference for the circuit, so that there will be continuous flow of current in the circuit, and the electrical energy will be converted into some other forms of energy depending on the electrical appliance that we are using. So, in the same way here, this is providing potential difference. Here electric motor will do the similar work. So, that is why you can compare these two things. So, that is what the cell requirement of cell in a circuit. Now, let us see what is the EMF of a cell and what is internal resistance of a cell, and a cell equation. So, generally a cell contains two electrodes, namely positive electrode and negative electrode. Generally we call it as positive terminal in electricity. So, this one is negative electrode or negative terminal. Okay. So, now let me explain in detail how it works. Suppose if you take some electrolyte solution. Now let these two are the electrodes, these two rods are electrodes. So when these rods are inserted into electrolyte solution, so here the ions will be, so positive ions, positive charges will be deposited on one rod. So let this is the rod on which positive charges will deposit, and at the same time some negative charges, that means negative ions will be depositing on the other rod. So at here this rod, say it is at a potential V volts with respect to the electrolyte solution near to it. So V is the potential difference between the rod P with respect to the electrolyte solution. At the same time, this rod will be at a negative potential because there are negative charges. So I can say negative potential minus V, means this rod is at a potential difference minus V with respect to the electrolyte solution next to it. So after some time the electrolyte solution will reach a constant potential after completing that deposition of ions on both sides, so that there will be a constant potential difference between the two electrodes. Now if we take the potential difference between these two electrodes, that will be V minus of minus V, that is equals to 2V, which is greater than 0, means some positive potential difference is created due to the process called electrolysis. So now these two rods are having some positive potential difference. Now if you connect some external resistor between these two electrodes, say a resistance R is connected. Now this, because of, so if there is no connection of resistor, there is no electric current flow in the circuit. Now when you connect this resistor, current will start flowing in the circuit. So in the external resistor it will flow from P to N. Let me write it clearly. So this is the resistor. So here when you connect a resistor, current will be flowing from positive terminal to negative terminal in the external circuit, whereas when it reaches this negative terminal, it has to move from negative to positive and once again inside the electrolyte solution. So here the cell has to do some work in sending the charge from negative electrode to positive electrode inside the, means negative electrode to positive electrode when it reaches this position. That means here the work done by the cell per unit charge is known as EMF. So here, so remember clearly, the electric charge flow from P to N in the external circuit. When it reaches this negative electrode, it has to move from, so here it is moving from high potential to low potential, but when it reaches negative terminal, it has to move from negative to positive, that means a low potential to high potential, where that cell has to do some work in sending the charge from low potential to high potential. That work done per unit charge, that work done, say W per unit charge, is known as EMF of the cell. So remember, EMF is nothing but work done per unit charge in maintaining the current, constant current in the external circuit is EMF. So EMF nothing but electromotive force. So now EMF of the cell is equals to E, that is work done per unit charge by the cell in sending the charge through the circuit, that is W by Q. So now let us define units for this physical quantity EMF. So where W, work done unit is joule, SI unit of work done is joule, and SI unit of charge is coulomb, which is nothing but volt. So the EMF SI unit is the same as that of unit of potential and the potential difference that you studied in electrostatics. Now EMF nothing but electromotive force. Remember, electromotive force, okay, electromotive force, which is equal to the work done per unit charge by the cell in maintaining constant current in the circuit. So that is what. Now let us draw one circuit in the symbolic form. So a cell, circuit symbol of a cell is, circuit symbol of a cell is like this. So this big line indicates high potential, small line indicates low potential. This is a cell circuit symbol. So generally we will be using battery circuits and battery connection in the circuit. So battery nothing but the series combination of two or more cells. So this can be the battery symbol. So here plus, here minus. So here 1, 2, 3, 3 cells are connected in series. This is nothing but battery symbol, and this is a cell. So remember, this is battery, and this is cell. So these are the circuit symbols. Now let us discuss simple cell circuit with one external resistor, and before that let me define what is internal resistance of a cell. So as I told you, when current is flowing from positive to negative in the external circuit, if this is the resistor, R. So when circuit is closed, current will flow from high potential to low potential in this direction. But here when it is moving from negative to positive inside the cell, it has to move through the electrolyte solution. So here the electrolyte solution will offer some resistance to the flow of current. So that resistance offered by the electrolyte solution to the flow of current is called as internal resistance. So here internal resistance generally will represent with small r. Small r is resistance offered by electrolyte solution. Electrolyte solution to the flow of current inside this cell. So that is what internal resistance. So generally this value will be very, very small. So that is why you can represent this internal resistance with a smaller. Now let us discuss a simple cell circuit. So let us consider a cell of EMF connected to an external resistor. Say this is the internal resistance. So let the EMF of the cell is E, and let the external resistor connected is capital R. So capital R is external resistance and small r is internal resistance, that is resistance offered by the electrolyte solution of the particular cell. Now let I is the total current in the circuit. So E is nothing but the total EMF in volts. So here when I current is passing through this resistor, say V potential is dropped across this particular resistor. So using Ohm's law for conductors, you can say V is equal to IR. So this much this many number of volts are dropped in this resistor. So it will flow through this particular internal resistance, that is I into small r, that is number of volts dropped due to the internal resistance of the cell. Now if you take the conservation, that means total number of volts is E, that is EMF of the cell, that must be equal to potential drop across the external resistor plus potential drop across the internal resistance IR. So this I can write it as V, that is potential drop across external resistor V plus I into small r, that is equal to E, that is V is equals to E minus I into R. So this equation is nothing but equation of a simple cell circuit. V is equal to E minus IR, where V is the potential drop across the terminals of the cell. Suppose if you take this one, this point and this point, and these two parts are in parallel. So this potential difference must be equal to this potential difference. So E minus IR will be equal to I into capital R, that is what this equation indicates. Now let us find different equations from that cell equation which are useful to solve the problems. Now taking this equation, take I common. So here E is equals to I into external resistance capital R plus internal resistance small r. Therefore total current in the circuit is EMF divided by total resistance R plus small r. That is what the equation. So you can use all these equations for solving the problems. And E minus V is equals to I into small r, which is nothing but lost volts. Lost volts means the number of volts that are lost due to the internal resistance of the cell, which I am calling it as lost volts, because of internal resistance the cell will get heat. so that some energy will be lost in the form of heat. That is why you can call this value EMF minus the potential drop across the sectional resistor as number of lost volts, that is I into small r. So, these are different forms. So, let me write all of them in as a list. So, first equation E is equals to I into R plus small r. From this you can find out total current, it is E divided by R plus small r, and then I can write cell equation, that is V is equal to E minus IR. This is another important equation, and then number of lost volts, that is E minus V is equal to I into small r. So, this is the simple cell equation. Now, simple cell equation. So, in the next class, I am going to discuss different problems based on the concepts that today I completed, that is bulb, series and parallel combination, and power consumption, heating effect of electric current, and then cell equation. Tomorrow I will discuss the problems, and next we are going to discuss different cases of cell, that means open circuited cell, short circuited cell, and charging cell, discharging cell, like that some different cases of the cell we are going to discuss, and then we will move on to a very important concept, grouping of cells, series combination of cells, a parallel combination of cells, and a mixed grouping of cells. So, that is what in the concept in the next class. So, that is all for today's class. Thank you very much.